In recent months, the atmosphere surrounding Mohamed Salah has changed in a surprising way, and not just on the pitch. While some of the British press and a portion of impatient fans have begun to question whether the Egyptian star might be in decline, one of English football's most respected and experienced voices has chosen to swim against that current. Gary Neville, former Manchester United captain and now one of the most influential analysts in the Premier League, made a point of defending Salah, explaining in detail what he believes is really happening with Liverpool's number 11 under the new leadership of Arne Slot. The 2024-2025 season began with great expectations for Liverpool. After the thrilling Premier League title triumph in the previous campaign, the club entered a new era under Dutch manager Arne Slot, the man chosen to succeed Jurgen Klopp. With a style that Slot introduced fresh ideas, new faces, and inevitably new challenges. Liverpool started the season brightly, winning their first 5 league matches followed, and the team seemed to lose the spark that had defined it. Among the players most scrutinized during this turbulent period was Salah himself. At 33, the Egyptian ace became the subject of doubts. Had he lost the explosiveness that once made him one of the most feared forwards in world football? Headlines began suggesting his legs weren't the same anymore. And as often happens in the age of social media, criticism spread rapidly. Many claimed the star looked less intense, less incisive, less lethal. But Gary Neville decided to set the record straight. In a candid conversation on the Overlap and Stick to Cricket, a Betfair program, Gary Neville explained that he sees Salah as a player undergoing a natural process of transformation, not decline. Mo Salah is becoming more efficient, Neville said confidently. He might have lost some of that explosive unpredictability that allowed him to dribble past 3 players in one move, but he's becoming smarter, more strategic. That's something that happens to great players over time. Neville also pointed out that Liverpool are in a phase of adaptation under Arne Slot. The manager has brought in players like Florian Wirtz, the young German star still adjusting to the Premier League's relentless pace, and Hugo Ekitike, who has already shown promising flashes. It's normal that it takes time, Neville observed. Slot's system demands synchronization, collective movement, and spatial awareness. Salah is learning how to fit into this new philosophy, which is quite different from Klopp's fast vertical style. Neville's comparison to Cristiano Ronaldo drew attention. I keep hearing people say Salah's legs have gone, but look at Cristiano. He kept scoring goals well beyond 33. That's what happens when a player learns to reinvent themselves. They stop relying solely on speed and start trusting their game intelligence and efficiency. That's exactly what Salah is doing now. That analysis makes perfect sense when looking at Salah's recent trajectory. Last season, surrounded by rumors of a potential move to Saudi Arabia and uncertainty over his contract renewal, Salah responded in the best way possible, on the pitch. He scored the second highest number of goals of his career, silencing critics and proving he could still decide matches like few others. For Neville, that was no coincidence. It was the result of a player who has matured, who has learnt to manage time and the physical demands of the Premier League.
Of course, as 2025 begins, the challenges persist. Salah, like the rest of Slot's squad, is striving to regain consistency after an uneven spell. Liverpool began the season strongly, but that early momentum seemed to fade as opponents began adapting to the new tactical style. Even so, Neville believes the team's potential for resurgence remains intact, waiting for the right moment to explode. Liverpool have dipped a bit, but I think they'll be fine, he said, because Salah and Van Dijk are still the pillars of that team. Once those two start syncing again, everything will fall into place. His mention of Van Dijk is particularly significant. The Dutch captain, much like Salah, has experienced ups and downs since Klopp's departure. The transition to a new managerial regime inevitably affects a squad's emotional and tactical balance. Yet Neville sees in the experience and leadership of these two veterans the foundation upon which Slot can rebuild Liverpool's momentum. They're the spine, they're the ones holding the dressing room together and keeping belief alive, he explained. Statistics support Neville's point. Even when not at his dazzling best, Salah remains one of Liverpool's most influential players. His movement draws defenders, opens up spaces for teammates, and creates subtle imbalances that often go unnoticed in raw numbers. Arne Slot, who values patient and territorial football, understands the importance of that kind of tactical intelligence. Salah may look less flashy, the manager recently admitted at a press conference, but his impact is still immense. He's part of this team's heartbeat. That statement captures one of Salah's greatest virtues, his ability to reinvent himself without losing his essence. Since joining Liverpool from Roma in 2017, the forward has exceeded every expectation. He became an icon, broke records, won the Champions League, and helped restore to the fans a dream of domestic glory that had once seemed unreachable. Now, at 33, he faces a new challenge: to prove that age may alter one's style, but it doesn't erase talent. Gary Neville, with his analytical eye and on-field experience, seems to grasp this better than most. He understands that Salah is in a different stage of his career, one where the body may no longer be at its peak, but the mind operates with greater precision. "What I see in him now is maturity," said Neville. "He knows where to be, when to move, when to finish. He might not run as much as before, but he's more efficient, and efficiency is what separates the good from the legendary." Recent numbers back up that argument. In recent matches, Salah has shown improvement, more direct involvement in goals, sharper decision-making, and, most importantly, a greater leadership role on the pitch. The Egyptian is not just the scorer, he's the guide. In training, his attitude inspires younger players. In games, his experience dictates the rhythm. Arne Slot seems to have understood this and is adjusting the tactical setup to maximise what Salah can still offer at his best. That's why when Liverpool edged out Aston Villa in a tense, hard-fought game, Salah's gleaming eyes were impossible to miss. He looked lighter, more confident, as if that goal and performance marked a turning point. "This might be the turning point," Neville said after the match. "From here, we'll see the Salah everyone knows. Maybe not with the same pace, but with the same hunger, the same precision, the same killer instinct. And if Gary Neville is right, Arne Slot's Liverpool might be on the verge of another rise. A team that has learned from defeat, absorbed the manager's ideas, and counts on a rejuvenated Salah, colder, more calculated, and above all, more decisive. In the end, what may have changed in Mohamed Salah isn't his body, but the way he sees the game. And that change, far from being a sign of decline, could well be the secret to a brilliant new chapter in the twilight of his career."